Heavenly Father, we acknowledge you today as Lord, not only of individuals, but of nations and governments. So before we pray for tonight's agenda, I want to lift up Ukraine. For you alone, Father, know the true heart of the leaders involved and the real truth behind that conflict. So I ask that you redeem this situation by drawing many people to yourself. I pray that Ukrainians, Russians, and any world leader involving themselves in this conflict would not place their hope on their governments, their elections, or diplomacy. But may they all discover that you alone are the only true source of peace, safety, healing, comfort, truth, and yes, freedom. As for tonight, we thank you for your law, which our forefathers acknowledged and recognized as higher than any human law. We thank you for the privilege of being able to organize ourselves politically and of knowing that political loyalty does not mean disloyalty to you. I pray that every person in this place, including every candidate, may be awakened. Let us realize that while politics is not our salvation, our response to you requires that we politically are active. That we are not called to be a sect fleeing the world, but rather a community of faith renewing the world. That said, I pray and thank you for the opportunity that this election year puts before us to exercise our solemn duty not only to vote, but to influence countless others to vote and to vote correctly. For the same hands that are lifted up to you this evening are the same hands that fill the bubbles on the ballot. That the same eyes that read your word are the same eyes that will read the names on the ballot. And that none of us cease to be God followers when we enter the voting booth. As the election approaches, we thank you for the opportunity to hear every candidate that will speak tonight. We thank you for their desire to serve in leadership roles, and I pray that you will provide these candidates with reminders each day of why they decided to run for office and dedicate their lives to public service. As they speak tonight, I pray for discernment, that our eyes of understanding will be open and be free from blindness. So I ask you that you remind each candidate that your word is clear. Matthew 12:34 says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So I pray that every word they speak with and every question they answer, truth will overflow. For we all seek to better understand where they stand with the issues and concerns that confront our school districts, our cities, our state, and yes, even our country. And we ask all this in the name of the Father, Son, and through the power of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So much, everyone. Thanks for being here. I'm so excited to be amongst the school board candidates because this is going to be a twofold battle we're in this coming election. It's going to be the higher seat, the governor, the attorney general, the superintendent. But it's also going to be on the local level, city council, and of course, school boards. And I'm so excited to have some really fine people coming and stepping up because we all have had enough, right? It's been really awful to watch what's been going on in this country, what's been going on in Arizona. And I think this is kind of what I started to call really a children rescue mission. This is what we're on. And everybody should get engaged. It doesn't matter if you have children in the schools or not. This is about preserving these children's future and honestly their present. And I'm all around the state running around touring schools, and the most depressing places in America right now are the school classrooms. These kids are afraid, they're with masks, they don't look in your eyes, they can't write, they're always on their phones. You're looking from the side, just as a mom, just as a person, just as a human being, and you're looking and you're thinking, this is it? This is the kind of generation that we're going to raise. It's unjust, it's unfair, and we have to step up. I decided to run last year exactly in February because I couldn't take it anymore. My children, I have 9, 7, and 3-year-old, my daughter here, Cheyenne, with us. And the school district didn't open. I belong to Scottsdale, but my kids were actually going to Paradise Valley. They didn't open, and I decided I wasn't going to put up with that. Fought with the district, didn't work out. Put my kids in a private school, the best decision I'd ever made. 7 months my kids were in a private school before the district school opened. And I thought to myself, something is really wrong with the system. I'm working really, really hard, parking my money with the public school. And then I have to come up with more money to give them the education that they deserve. That didn't work out for me. And I said, somebody needs to step on and say, we appreciate you, the system. You've done the best you could, but you know what? You're failing. You're a failure of epic proportions, and we're going to take it back. And this is what this is about. We're going to take back education for our kids, not because we want to, because we have to. It's now or never. I'm telling you, I'm all over the state. What I'm seeing, the state of affairs that our children are in is tragic. The Arizona Health Department just published the deaths from 15 to 19 in that age group. We have an increase of 25% in homicide, 40% in suicide, and 42.3% in accidental poisoning, which is also known as overdose. By the way, how many children died of COVID? 0. So when you're looking at these things as a human being and you say, what am I going to do about this, right? We're looking at these people that already got elected to all these offices, putting them in a pedestal. Well, they have the job that we want, and let me tell you something. They're a lot less qualified than us. But they're sitting there. So we're going to take it back, and it's going to be a glorious day. I mean, oh my goodness, can you imagine Inauguration Day? We're all putting our hands on the Bible, us fine people, fine people. It's going to be such a beautiful day, And this is what I want people to start. As we go around the state, I'm going to brag because I can. I started early too, and I worked really hard, but I already submitted my 10,600 signatures. I submitted my 1,800 $5 donations. I got my stimulation money. I just got the money yesterday, got funded, got $110,000 to run for the state. And we have 2 more months to go, and now it's almost a month. So I was the first Republican to ever file so early on the state level. And I'm saying it not only because I brag, even though I disclosed that I am, but because we have the momentum behind us. People have had enough, and I feel that if we just capitalize on this momentum, a lot of times I was asked today, and everywhere I go, people tell me about the teachers' unions, but the resistance, what are you going to do? I was in the Israeli military. I worked with bereaved families. We were assisting them with logistical, financial, emotional needs. I was, for 2 years, working with families. That's what I did. That was my job. Almost like a social worker / logistical assistant. And it was amazing to me the problems that we were able to solve, although emotionally, you can never get over a mom who tells you, I should have never buried my son. He should have buried me. And I've had too many conversations like this at such a young age, but it was amazing what we could do. It really was. And I feel that we are able to do this right now. I really do. I feel that this is the time for us to bring people into that office that have that sense of empathy and understanding of systems that's supposed to work for those that they serve. Because at the end of the day, we are the customers. They forget, the customer is always right. And they forget that. But as I go around the state, I see how people kind of defeat it. It's like, oh, you have the teachers' unions, what are you going to do? When I was in the Israeli military, when we were going into battles, when they were coming at us, and usually we're attacked, obviously, you don't go into a battle thinking you're going to lose. You just don't. And if one unit loses, guess what? We're sending others. So yes, there were a lot of great fighters throughout the years that were trying to fight good fight. Maybe it wasn't the timing, maybe they didn't have the momentum behind them. We do right now, and I feel that I can go in and do what we need to do to win this battle. A, because our kids depend on it, and B, because you know what? It's very possible. Think about just the alternate reality that we would have lived in if we had 2 or 3 different school board members in every school board throughout the year. over the last 2 years. Masks, quarantine, social emotional learning, critical race theory, all of these things that we have gotten so accustomed to have as part of our daily conversation as if it's normal. You know, I spoke with my brother a couple of days ago. He's in Israel, and he is baffled. He doesn't believe me half the time when I tell him what's going on in the education system in America. They can't believe that, because it sounds like, what? They're talking about slavery, they're talking about America being racist, they're talking about, yes, that's all they do. They take out resource officers. I mean, we always had armed guards in Israel. We had to, and guess what? We never had any shootings, mass shootings in our schools, or terrorist attacks in our schools. So we're taking them out, and what do we bring in? Counselors to question our kids. How many glasses of wine your mom drinks? How does that make you feel? What kind of ammunition you have at the house? Where is it stored? How does that make you feel? They're creating this notion that everything that happens in a child's life has to be adjudicated by emotion. That's why they don't think. And we cannot live in a society where we have zero critical thinking, and that's why we see the trend of people just kind of following the government and government guidelines without questioning it. And that's the process of the Marxism implementation that we've been seeing for decades in this country, but there is no refuting it now. It's here, it's in everything, and we have to save our kids from this because they are destabilizing them. As much as I want to talk about critical race theory, but I'm sure a lot of the members, the candidates here are going to be talking about that. To me, the biggest issue that I have in my belly right now firing up is the sexualizing of our kids. Yeah. The grooming of our kids. Yeah. It's the destabilizing of their identity and their souls. The job of the school is not to develop identity. It's to develop character, and a good one at that. And they fail. You cannot ask a child what pronouns before they can't even spell the word pronouns. How about get them to spell that first? Once they do, talk to them about that. In Phoenix Union High School, it's going to be after graduation. So, I'll speak quickly about the solutions. How much time do I have? I never asked. I don't have time. So I'm not going to talk about the solutions. But if you want, and I've been talking so much. I've talked more in the last 8 months than my entire life. I'm going to be 43 in a couple of months, a couple of weeks. I talk all the time. So, if you want solutions, I'm the parent candidate. There's no other option. I'm telling you, we have to believe that we can fight this fight and win it. And I'm really looking forward to do this for your kids and my kids and for this country. Thank you so much.
Don't clap yet, I haven't said anything. Hey, thank you so much for our opportunity here tonight. I want to keep it as short and sweet. My banner says it all. Power to the parents. It's not just a slogan. Thinking about that slogan, by the way, I grew up in just the outskirts of a barrio. My parents are legal immigrants from Mexico. First language is Spanish. And all they could afford was a little house with, at the time, 6 of us. And, you know, we were growing up in a neighborhood where it was very Chicano-ish, very militant kind of thing. And you would hear this, power to the people, power to the people. And all of a sudden it came to me, forget power to the people, it's power to the parents. And do we ever need that today? I'm a certified school teacher, been teaching for over 30 years. And I've seen the dismantling of this nation's education. Started in 1985 in California. I saw what was going on already. And little did I know when I moved out here in 2006 that would take root here. I'm I'm a serious guy, but at the same time I can have fun. You know, one of the things that I'm looking forward to is interacting with people who think they know better than parents for their children. And I'm talking about people who are supposed to call themselves leaders. Public servants, by the way. Public servants. That term is out the window.
Yes.
And that's my platform is, you know what? You vote for me, I will be your number one public servant. And I will listen to you parents, because I'm a parent. I've raised 3 children. They're all adults now. But I have grandchildren. 6 of them. And I fear for them. If I don't get scared a lot, but I fear for them. And I'm going to do whatever I can to be that sounding board for parents. And that's why that slogan came to my mind. And you know what? I'm a God-fearing man. And every step of the way that I've taken so far has not been my own. It's been through the leading and direction of the Holy Spirit. And so I'm standing up here, not as a politician. That's the last thing I want to be. I stand up here representing parents and teachers that want to do their job and can't, because there are a lot of great teachers that are wanting to do their jobs and they're afraid of losing their jobs. And so they have to toe that line. I will represent them too. They will have a sounding board. So if the superintendent of Deer Valley School District is listening to this, and we'll get a video of this, be on alert. Because homeboy doesn't mess around. I've had it with parents not being able to be listened to. They've come to me as teachers in the classroom, as a teacher in the classroom, what can I do, what can I do? And I coach them. And by the way, she's talking about it. We need to coach parents how to get their power back. And that's all I try to do. If parents come to me, I said, this is what you need to do. Well, are they going to retaliate on my kid? Hey, if they retaliate on your child, they're in trouble. That's how much power you have. But we got to give them that confidence. And so I appreciate your prayers, number one. I appreciate you sharing the word that a message will be sent in the Deer Valley School District. That when they elect me, it'll be overwhelmingly a victory for parents. Thank you very much.
I put myself on a timer here, because I know we got a lot of people, so I'll be very succinct. My name is Tony Bowie. I'm running for the Deer Valley School Board, and I'm originally from New Orleans. Born and raised. I came out to Arizona in 1990, went to the U of A, played football and baseball. I went on the NFL, and I played with the Buccaneers for 4 years under Tony Dungy, who was one of my coaches, and it was a great, wonderful time of life. And I came back. I've done a lot of things. I've got 3 advanced degrees from 3 different universities. One of them is a master's in education. I have a beautiful wife of 21 years. Don't tell her. And I was sitting around and I was thinking to myself, what the heck is going on in the world? My kids were coming home, and one of my kids on a 504 IEP, and she's having issues. They're being masked up. She's sitting next to a kid. I get a text. She has to stay away. She comes back after 10 days, whatever it was, and she has to go back again. Screwed up her whole year. And I thought to myself, I just can't sit around and do nothing. I've been in the governor's cabinet, Governor Ducey's cabinet. So I've been involved in politics in the Republican Party since, since like 2008-ish or 6. Been very involved in state committeeman, PC, and this is where I think I can make a difference. I think everyone here, probably you're here because you feel like you need to make a difference somehow, whether you're going to support someone, you're going to run for office. I can stand in this gate, right here, this gap, and make a difference. My parents grew up very, very poor. So when I grew up in middle school and in elementary school and high school, I go to North Louisiana, and I go to my grandparents' house, and I look at my parents like, you came from this? Right? And they were both educated to the extent they went, their first in their family go get advanced degrees. And my dad was writing a book called Excel to Escape. And it was about using opportunity, using education, using your athletic ability, whatever God has given you, to advance beyond what your parents were. And so that was always my goal, to be better than what my parents were. To get, they got 1, I got 3, right? I used every opportunity I could to advance where I was going. And I want the same for my kids. I want my kids to go to school and not be indoctrinated, right? I want them to be taught. So there's 4 things I'm gonna focus on. And I'm gonna be quick and succinct because I wrote it down. I don't wanna mess it up. Get back to basics in the classroom. Teach kids fact-based civics and history. I mean, this is what we should be doing in class. I went to an all-boy Catholic high school in middle school, and believe me, it was like you do this, you do that. There was no messing around. Teach traditional math and science, and reading and writing. Teach critical reasoning, right? I mean, all this other stuff we're talking about, SEL and CRT, and William Rehnquist said about a famous Supreme Court decision on pornography. He says, I can't define it, but I know what it is when I see it. And it's exactly what I feel about CRT and critical race theory. It's hard to define, but I know it when I see it and when it's being taught to my children. Hire and maintain the best teachers through clear policies and salaries. Eliminate all the teachings and policies about discrimination on race and your personal health care decisions. That's your business. Second, parental involvement. Allow parents full access into the classroom. Give them full understanding about all the teachings and lesson plans that are coming into the school system in the coming years. Fiscal transparency is critically important. And I will keep every staff member, the superintendent accountable for the spending in their budget. And finally, arts and athletics. Be able to teach kids not just what's in a book, but give them well-rounded, students and be a good citizen and be involved in ROTC and drama and athletics. All the things are going to make the kid well-rounded once they leave school, because not every kid is going to go to college. So we need to prepare kids to do trade. I'm a vice president of a manufacturing company, and we're in a trade. So those are the 4 things I'm going to work on. I appreciate your time. Thank you for all the candidates that are running. Thank you for being here. If you're in Deer Valley, sign my petition. We still need to get on the ballot. And also, if you can skip a latte, TonyBowie.com, and chip in there $20. So I appreciate your patience.
I'm that guy at the homecoming game that paints his face, wears my jersey that I don't fit into anymore, and I bring an air horn. So I really like the air horn. So my name's Paul Carver. I'm running for the Deer Valley School Board. My wife's over there. I can't look over there. So I'm a father of 8, graduate from Deer Valley High School and Deer Valley Middle School. You served in the United States Marine Corps. Thank you. 4th generation raised here in Arizona. I don't have 20 or 30 years of education experience, except for all the years it took me to earn my master's degree. I've got a master's in business. My experience is in business, and my experience outside of business is in my service. I live by the concept of service before self. I'm always looking for opportunities to try to lighten another person's load and to make life a little bit easier to live. And in this day and age, the reason that I've decided to run, you look around and our children are our most valuable resource. They have a finite period of time in which they can be children. Their innocence is the most amazing treasure that they will ever have. And we have so many different things attacking their innocence. They don't get a chance to make it to 18 anymore and still be children. They get to school as early as preschool and kindergarten, and they've got to deal with, does Johnny really think that he's a boy? And all of that kind of nonsense. And that's unacceptable. And so I need for us to get back to a more basic type of schooling. The kind of schooling that people my age, I'm 52, for those of you in the room, 52? Nobody, I'm the only one, okay, thank you. So, back when school was fun to go to, and school taught you the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. School is not to teach you your morals and principles. I mean, when I went to school, we had bullies too, and because this is the pushback that I've gotten from people in the education system when I say that you're not there to teach my child morals and principles. But what about the child that doesn't have the parents to teach them that? You know what? We had a whole bunch of kids when I was in school that didn't have the parents to teach them that. Life taught them that. Life taught them how to straighten themselves out, or detention did, or sometimes the paddle, if you're as old as I am, you remember the paddle. So I think that for as great as it is, that as we move forward in life and we continually change and we try to evolve, this concept of, without getting too political, New World Order and peace, love, and granola and all that kind of fun stuff, we need to give our children an opportunity to be children. And we're not doing that at the schools anymore. And so I want to push for getting the schools back to what they need to be with the parents in charge. For those of you that don't know the school board's function, they're supposed to be the conduit between the community and the administration. They do not answer to the superintendent, for those of you that don't know that. The superintendent's supposed to answer to them. Unfortunately, a lot of our boards have been corrupted, and they're now lockstep with whatever it is that the superintendent wants to do. There's too much nepotism going on. I know a particular school board, I'm not going to name names directly, where the president's child works for the superintendent, the vice president's child works for the president in another capacity that she serves at someplace else in the state. And how can you, with a clear mind, sit there and work side by side with these people and object to something that they want when you know that there might be, out of human nature, repercussions for those children because you didn't go the way that the gentleman on top wanted you to. So people aren't acting with enough integrity. I've been speaking a lot lately at the school board meetings, and the last paragraph that I always share with the board before I step down is you need to conduct yourself in a manner that's beyond reproach. Beyond reproach. Not enough people understand what that means anymore, but you need to put yourself in a position where you can't be misconstrued to be doing anything that's not on the up and up. An example is, I also believe that we should have budgetary and curriculum transparency. The Deer Valley School District runs an annual budget of $198 million. That's a lot of zeros, but it's a big district. They received $63 million from all of the different COVID acts and garbage like that the federal government shoved down to the states. Arizona received $4 billion of it. Deer Valley received $63 million of that. So in the meeting the other day, they were going through budget. We have a $19 million surplus. Now this was before the House passed to change the whole thing that we're doing with the finances on the school level. And sorry, I get distracted when people are waving colorful flags. So we have a $19 million surplus and a $37 million shortfall in a time where, so those numbers don't make sense, right? For those of you that can even partially do math, it doesn't make sense. And enrollment is down 4%. So we need budgetary transparency, we need curriculum transparency, we need to put parents first, and we need to make sure that that happens. And we need to do it right away. Please come over to my table, visit me after she tells me I'm done. Visit me when we're done. Thank you for your time.
My name is Jennifer Drake. I'm running for the Dysart School Board. If you don't know where Dysart School is, we are all the way out in Surprise. so I drove a whole hour. Our district covers about 140 miles. We do El Mirage, Surprise, and a little part of Waddell. We have about 24 schools, 27 total, but 24 schools. We have one preschool and one online. So we're pretty big. We cover about 24,000 students. The reason why I'm running is I am so fed up with what's going on in our schools. I am a frustrated mom. I have a 5th grader. Unfortunately, he is not in the district because of what's going on. I actually put him in a charter school, and I'm finding out the charter school's doing the same thing as the district. So just a heads up. But I've lived in Surprise 20 years. We moved there in 2002. We got married, me and my husband. Bought our first home, and then my son came. Decided that I wanted him to have a good education, so I started researching the schools in our area. The district was obviously not my first choice. Started looking into the charter schools. So we decided that the charter schools was the best fit for him at that time. So deciding to put him in the charter school, I decided I wasn't happy with what was going on, so I decided to go to a PC meeting to see what I could do as a parent, a concerned parent. So went to the meeting, decided I am signing up, and then from there decided I needed to start going to the board meetings. I had no idea that they even had board meetings for schools, no clue. So started attending, and with Dysart, what they do in their meetings, I've been attending since last March. So what they do is they have 2 schools in the district come and report what's going on in their schools. They give like a brief, I don't know, maybe 15, 20-minute PowerPoint. And each school I was noticing was having the same issues with math and reading in the tank. And when the principals were explaining to the board what was going on, there was no resolution. There were no steps to fix it. And then the board would just sit there and they wouldn't ask any questions. So I was very, very frustrated. So I don't know if you guys saw what was going on Facebook the other day, but Dysart, their reading is at 40% and their math is at 30%. It's horrible. So very frustrated, decided September, I'm putting my name in, I am running. I'm going to try to be a positive influence on the board for our children. They deserve it. These numbers need to come up. We need to figure out how to get the reading, how to get the math up. And one of my solutions for reading is, why aren't these kids in tutoring? Why don't we put phonics back into the schools? What I understand, phonograms is not a thing. And then I'm also finding out they're not even assigning book reports anymore. So very frustrated with it. So started running. Went to my meeting this past Wednesday, and on the agenda was transgender bathrooms. So they put up this whole slide, how they want to renovate the bathrooms. It's going to cost $2 million. They have 7 gender kids in the district that have come forward that want the bathrooms. For 7 kids, they want to use $2 million. I'm thinking, use that $2 million, bring the proficiencies up.
Yeah.
You know, it's common sense. You know, worry about the bathrooms later. So yeah, that's what my frustration is. I'm running because I'm a concerned parent, not only for my child, but for all those kids. You know, these kids have lost almost 2 years of education with this COVID. You know, and a lot of them are having speech and talking issues, and we need to get this fixed. You know, these kids are our future. You know, so again, I'm Jennifer. I'm with the Dysart School District. If you're in the area, please sign my petition. If you have any questions, let me know.
Appreciate American Pan having us out here to speak tonight. Just give you a little intro on me. I've had 3 kids go through the Chandler School District. The last one's graduating this year. The older 2 are in college, one at ASU, who's graduating in 3 years. And the other one's down at Eagle Bay. My last one will go to ASU and go to WP Carey in Portland County degree. So hopefully they'll get good jobs, so I don't have to pay their rent anymore. So, you notice I'm wearing the yellow shirt. Does anybody know what this means? Does anybody know about the group Conservative Teachers of America? Okay? Nationwide group, teachers wear yellow shirts on Fridays to show their support for conservative values in education. I suggest you do so as well. Which will lead me to that next point. I do tutoring in the district to Title I elementary schools. It's a lot of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders helping them to read and do math. The last lady brought up the point we need to do more tutoring. We can do more tutoring. Parents can go into the schools and tutor kids after school on reading and math. It helps. Because I can tell you, talking to these little kids, they just want attention. That's what they want. You give them attention, they respond, and they start doing the homework, and they start reading, and they start coming over to help you with the math as you get to know them. Okay? You should do that. The other thing I want to bring up is that today, I spent the day at a junior high school in Chandler teaching 7th grade math. Yes, it was everything you would think would be. But still, they're good kids. You just need to connect with them. Which brings me to the point about people that are running for school boards. You know, my kids are all moving out. Okay, it's kind of an empty nest thing. And it's nice to see them be successful, but they're leaving. You know, and it's a little bit hard. It's kind of a bittersweet thing. So I was thinking about, people ask me, why you never run for school board? Well, part of it is because I'm going to adopt 44,000 kids in the Chandler district and try to take care of them. That is one of the best reasons, okay? So, part of that is getting parents back in the classrooms, I think, solves a lot of problems. Yes. Awful lot. Because there's a gap, a trust gap between teachers and parents right now. And the districts in between are not doing a very good job about trying to fix that, and school boards are just throwing up their hands, okay? Let me tell you, we had a school board meeting this Wednesday, and I spoke there, and actually I was kind of laying into a teacher for disrespecting, an activist teacher for disrespecting parents, and telling the school board that this should not be tolerated. They were having a comprehension problem with that concept. But we'll continue to work with them. But that's not the point I wanted to bring up. I had a friend, her name's Ann, really sweet lady, very faithful lady, doesn't really speak publicly, and she got up and spoke and scared to death. First time she's ever done it, in a very wavering voice, held up her Bible, leather bound, real big, thick one, and she said, "This is the SEL curriculum we've been using for 2,000 years. You have all these new-fangled concepts and books in your classroom that we don't ever heard of, that we don't even trust. Why is this book not in your classroom?" They didn't know what to make of that. But she is right. She is absolutely right. I had about 4 bullet points as these people were speaking. I wrote down another 12. I had 20, 30 minutes, something like that. I appreciate that. We talked about in the classroom and getting parents in there. Parents are free, by the way. There's no cost to the district to have parent volunteers. Okay? And I can tell you that this teacher stress thing that they talked about, that's a real thing. It is. And having a teacher take a whole class on this with no help, kind of by yourself, then you need to get other adults in there to help. Okay? The other suggestion that I'm going to have for the district is that there's 5,000 employees in the Chandler district. only 2,500 teachers, 2,500 do something else. They should have those 2,500 people 1 day a month spend time in the classroom. They're free. You're already paying them. And that's the help that teachers will need. It also helps all these district people that sit there and go to staff meetings to reconnect in the classroom to find out what's really going on. Because I can tell you that the district staff, and particularly school board, has absolutely no idea what's going on in the classrooms at all. Okay? Do I get charged this time? Let me just do one thing because I want to talk about Sears. Okay? Because that's how I kind of got started in this. It first started out as critical race theory. Then it got to culturally responsive teaching, which sounded better, but it's the same acronym. What it really is, in my mind, is creating racial tension.
Yeah.
Okay? That's what's really going on, and that's what we need to push back on. We had a meeting last time, we were talking about SEL. I finally realized what SEL is people trying to reach into your home and take over the parenting of your children. Who thinks that's wrong? Okay? So we're not going to put up with it. Okay, so I'm getting the times up. They're waiting me out of here. We can talk a little bit later. My table's over there. So and if you want to help out, Kurt roars for CUSD.com and get a hold of me. We can talk some more. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm a writer, so I always come with notes because that's what I do best, is write. So she's certainly good. Okay. So I'm Amy Carney. I'm a mother of 6, and I'm running for Scottsdale School Board because they say, be the change you wish to see in the world, and I see a lot of change that needs to happen in Scottsdale Unified leadership, so I'm stepping up. During this season of COVID, I have seen firsthand how important who we elect to our school board is. Our family has personally lived the consequences of the bad decisions made by our board and our administration. My husband and I graduated our firstborn triplet sons from Chaparral in 2020 and our daughter in 2021. So yes, I had 4 kids in 18 months, if you didn't catch that. And we recently adopted 2 sons from the foster care system here in Arizona, who are currently in 4th and 8th grade in Scottsdale Unified.
Praise God.
Thank you. Praise God. I'm running for the Scottsdale School Board because I care about our students, our school, and our community. We need our public schools to be a strong option for families to educate their children. Who we elect to our 2 open school board seats on November 8th matters in every district. We need to make sure we elect parents, like myself, who have had their children in our public schools and who aren't afraid to stand up and say, no thank you, not on our watch, no more.
Yes.
So we must refocus on academics in our schools. I think that's consistent with all of us. It's shocking to me that only 35% of Chaparral High School students here in Scottsdale passed the state ELA test in 2021. And it's even more disturbing to me that only 12% of Coronado High School students down south passed the same test. Not only parents are frustrated, but taxpayers are tired of being ripped off.
Yes.
They're tired of seeing higher taxes and poor rankings, right? So we've got to refocus our goals on strengthening academic achievement. We must also rid our schools of the divisive ideologies and the political propaganda that's coming into our classrooms. Parents send their kids to school to be educated on, in the core subjects, not for social and cultural activism. We must focus on strengthening students' interests and not their identities. You can count on me to hold our school leaders accountable for complete transparency in educating our children. We must rebuild trust in Scottsdale Unified so that families can be confident sending their children to our schools to receive an excellent educational experience. You can trust me to be the same person you meet here tonight, or at home, or in my business, or as I will be sitting on the board. If I don't believe in something, such as wearing a mask, you will never catch me up on the dais wearing one and mandating it. first, parental rights, and doing my best to ensure that our schools are a strong pillar in our community. As a board member, I will vote no to wasted spending and see that more money makes it into our classrooms to educate our students and to pay our deserving and effective educators. Our board recently unanimously voted to spend a minimum of $156,000 on a social media marketing campaign to celebrate our district's 125th anniversary this year. Instead of spending money on trying to gaslight the community with captivating graphics to woo them into Scottsdale schools, I want to give our students the best educational experience possible, because I know all happy parents are the best form of advertising, right? If we are pleased with our child's school experience, we will tell everyone, and that's free. So I'm Amy Carney, and I always have been and always will be a champion for students, parents, teachers, and our community. So if you are in Scottsdale Unified, please come sign my petition to get me on the ballot, and please vote for me in November. And all these wonderful parents that are running for school districts across this valley, tell your friends, this is what we need. We need to spread the word. We're teaming together across the state, and it's just, I think we're gonna see a lot of change. So if you are interested, join me in being that change that you wanna see in the world and our community too. Thank you.
All right. Did you know that only 46% of Scottsdale Unified High School students are proficient or better in reading, math, and science? That's pre-COVID. Pre-COVID data is worse now. Only 43% of the students who took the ACT exam met the college readiness benchmark. The average ranking of our elementary schools in the state is 165. Of our middle schools is 142. I believe these academic results are unacceptable. We are failing our youth. In addition, as taxpayers, we should be receiving a better return on our investment in SUSD. I'm running to achieve two things. First, improve academic achievement across the district. And second, ensure that every student, not just half of them, has the academic and life skills they need upon graduation to succeed in their next step. Oops. Stop. How do we achieve this? First of all, make academic achievement the first priority in each of our schools. Secondly, set specific, aggressive, measurable academic outcomes to be achieved by certain dates, and hold the superintendent accountable for reaching those goals. I was the only candidate to demand any academic accountability in the superintendent's recent pay plan. At Coronado, as was mentioned, where we have the highest percentage of low-income and minority students, only 19% of them were proficient pre-COVID. Other schools outside SUSD achieve better academic results for these students. We need to learn what they're doing and perform better. A couple of other points. No, I do not support CRT or any other program that pits one group of people against another based on any criteria. Number two, I do not support mandates. I believe we should allow parents to choose and offer exemptions for medical and religious reasons. Both of my parents were teachers, so obviously I'm an advocate for teachers. I graduated from the Indiana University School of Business. I have an MBA from the University of Chicago. I've been married for 37 years. I married a man with 2 children, and we have a son together. So I have been a parent for 37 years and a grandparent for 23 years. I've lived in Scottsdale almost 25 years. I have both significant business experience and significant educational experience. Initially, I was a banker, Then I managed 100 to $300 million businesses for Kraft Foods and the NutraSweet Company. So I know how to run a large-scale business, and SUSD is a business. We have 22,000 customers, 3,000 employees, 29 physical plants, and almost a $500 million annual budget. I believe it's critically important that we have management expertise on the governing board. I then founded 2 businesses of my own. One provides curriculum and personal coaching to 7th to 12th grade students to help them find their passion, build their strengths, and execute a personalized roadmap to the future they desire. I have both gifted and special ed experience. I was blessed with a gifted son, and I have a granddaughter who has autism. I spent 8 years at the Pappas schools, whose entire enrollment consists of homeless children. I was a longtime board member of Boys Hope, Girls Hope of Arizona. I was a member of ABEC, a statewide collaboration of business and education leaders aimed at creating a superior public education system in Arizona. I've personally mentored more at-risk Hispanic and African American students than I can count. So why me? I am the only candidate who from the very beginning of this race has had improving academics as their primary priority. I'm the only candidate who has both significant business and educational experience, 30 years worth. Approximately 85% of households in Scottsdale do not have school-age children, yet we're all paying taxes to support the schools. I believe these 100,000 households deserve representation on the board. So in closing, remember, what the heck, vote for Keck.
This is awesome, isn't it? The energy in the room is amazing, and I am so excited to be here. So my name is Karen Warner, and I'm running for the Scottsdale School Board. At 11 years old, I landed on the tarmac in the greatest country on earth. Welcome to America by Neil Armstrong played through the speakers, and I did not speak English. 3 weeks later, I walked into a public school classroom and stood for the Pledge of Allegiance. I have been a public school mom on the front lines and in the trenches for a decade. I go to all the board meetings, even the ones where no one else is there, and I'm not wearing a mask, the only one. I meet with administrators and I review curriculum on their devices at the district office. I know where the bad stuff is, and I know who the bad actors are, and there's many of them. My husband and I moved to Scottsdale specifically to put our 3 kids in SUSD for their academic excellence. There's an 8-year age gap between my oldest and my youngest, and it's astonishing to see the difference in how my children have been educated. My daughter graduated from Chaparral in 2014, and it was academics first. It was about you either performed or you didn't, and the results showed on your report card. Now, it's how do you feel, and empathy, and yes, we want to be empathetic people, however, empathy will not pay your bills. That's what I tell my kids. Social emotional learning is not a fluffy, nice saying. It is a monster designed to separate children from their families, shock children's values, putting them in a constant state of anxiety while they shovel hurtful ideologies and gender-confusing propaganda to them. This is not only terrible, but it's unfair to our teachers who have to, teach this curriculum and see what it's doing to our kids. And it's also pushing our academics to the bottom. The academic results of our students no longer matters. It's about how they feel and their emotions. Students are spending educational time taking long surveys with invasive questions like, do you have guns at home? Do your parents tell you that they are proud of you? Do your parents argue? Do your parents argue about the same things over and over again? So, and these surveys are not intended for good. They're intended to plant seeds. Yes. They're intended to, again, get between you and your child And I will stand here today and I'll tell your children to opt out, to have them refuse surveys. They are not good, and if at all, you need to opt them out of them completely. And when I am on the board, I will fight to have all surveys be opt-in. So the current, let's talk about the superintendent for a minute here. So the current superintendent has meetings with the gals over that are in charge of the 1619 project at ASU. And he appreciates their information that they share. It's a quote. He believes kids cannot learn if they come to school with high cortisol levels. Now, I've spent time with the superintendent and asked him, how do student cortisol levels, how do they measure? And his response was, that's hard to say. He must be replaced. School boards have way too much power. This week, SUSD voted in a 3-2 to changing the policy, changing their responsibility away from parents and taxpayers. Now, the governing board's responsibility is to act in good faith in the best interest of the district. While they are busy changing policies, only 8% of the students at Coronado passed their 10th grade math exam for 2021. So only 8% are passing in math. At Desert Mountain, which is the highest academic school, only 47% are passing that same exam. So out of the 5 high schools that Scottsdale has, not a single one has over 49% that are graduating at grade level or proficient in English and math. So it's going to take a change agent and that has to fix this, and I'm going to do that. And I've made changes in the district already. I have evidence. In May of 2020, we were in lockdown, schools were on Zoom, and athletics was not happening. Physical exercise, oh my gosh. Physical exercise and camaraderie was desperately missing. I gathered 140 parents and launched a campaign to get sports started and from the moment of launch, an emergency board meeting was scheduled within 24 hours. 2 weeks later, summer sports started. And I spoke with the head coach for one of the programs yesterday, and he said, Karen, if you hadn't done that, we would have not had sports in 2020. I'm beholden to no one. Well, time's up. So again, I think that we're all putting students first, and then academics have to come first. We will abide by the Arizona Parents' Bill of Rights and restore trust between the district and the community. And I will demand full curriculum and club transparency, and hopefully the SB 1211 passes and makes that a law. And we will recognize and reward our effective teachers, putting money back in the classroom and stop wasting it on social media and $73,500 for a strategic design committee plan that did not put any measurements on academics or success in their plan. All right, thank you. Anyways, Karen Warner, I went over time. I apologize. Come see me.
Hello, I'm Sandra Christensen. I am a prayer warrior, I'm a wife, I'm a mom, and I'm not going to take it anymore. We're taking it to school. I've been working and volunteering in the Paradise Valley Unified School District since 2015 when we moved to this district. I've been a room mom. I was the head of Moms in Prayer for Pinnacle Peak, where my son went to elementary and middle school. And so I got to know the kids, I got to know the teachers, and just recently, because my son's in high school now, I'm getting to know the administrators. They're not liking me so much. Two of the things that I'm really focusing on in this district is curriculum and parent rights. My son is a sophomore at Horizon High School. Horizon is it's a great school. It's a liberal arts school. We were supposed to go to Pinnacle High, but my son is very talented and he's been singing since he was 8, so he's in their nationally recognized choir program. With that, it's not so Christian and conservative friendly in a liberal arts school. We've been fighting a lot at Horizon High School. My fellow moms and I have done 7 prayer walks this year alone around Horizon High School. But it's working. It's Satan's leaving the schools. We've had parents call out teachers, and we've had teachers that have been dating students leave, and all kinds of things. One of the biggest things that goes along with curriculum that we're fighting is the AP teachers trying to put pornographic reading materials into our high school's hands under the guise of preparing them for college. And so I'm trying to wrap my head around this as a mom, as a conservative Christian mom, and been going to every single school board meeting, and they're saying, oh, well, these parents just want to ban books. Like, no, we want you to follow district policy. District policy states that if there's any explicit material, it goes to the principal, and then 2 weeks. They get 2 weeks for the parents to review the material, and then an alternative assignment will be assigned at no penalties for the students, right? So we show up to the school boards. We are outnumbered about 10 to 1 from the Red for Ed people came in droves, and they sent their children to talk to the media saying, these parents just want to ban books, it's not fair. We need, this is a quote, we need to be exposed to taboo subjects to prepare us for the AP exam in college. So I'm thinking, okay, Lord, you're going to have to guide me because this is not okay. It's really difficult to maneuver the waters in this district, and you guys are all fighting the same thing. All the people fighting the school boards that don't want to hear your voice, they don't want you to be on their committees. So some of my friends and I decided to try to get on the committees. Well, we have to go through the United Parent Council, and the United Parent Council is not united, and they're not for parents either. They're very liberal, and they don't like loud conservative parents on it. So we have a wonderful thing in Arizona called open meeting law. So all these curriculum meetings that they're having, we show up anyway. We go in the back, whether they're on Zoom or in person, we show up. And we take notes in the back, and guess what? We make our voices heard. So there's a way, even though they're trying to block us, they're trying to do all these things. You can't stop a parent if you're messing with their kids, right? Like I said, we're taking it back. My friend Wendy and I spent 3 months reviewing the math curriculum. Guess what's in there? SEL. It's chock full of social emotional learning, and they're dumbing down the math so much that it's all multiple guess. Geometry, algebra, all the fundamentals, multiple choice. And you get multiple chances to get the right answer. So it's been a very interesting journey. My last point is, the second thing that I'm running on is parental rights. So we're bringing back transparency. We want parental rights. I want to use my last few minutes to just plug a couple of people. If you want SEL out of the school, we need to elect this woman because Kathy Hoffman has it. If you look at her website, it's all over. So we need to elect Shuri. The other thing is, I wanted to plug Eddie Jackson. Unfortunately he was unable to be here because he is coaching his son's first Little League game, 9-year-old. So we signed petitions. We're the only conservative parents running for the 4-year position, so my table's over here. And thank you, Brandon. I have some funny to tell you. My son at Verizon, and because everybody identifies as something, he identifies as an attack helicopter. So
Yes, hello everybody. Thank you America PAC and everybody for attending today. I appreciate coming here and listening to all of us talk about what's been going on the past 2 years. My name is Heather Ruggs and I'm running for Peoria School Board this coming election in November. Some people know me as the Peoria Mom, so look me up on Twitter. I have been married for 10 years and I have 4 children, 2 with special needs, and I grew up in the Peoria district. I graduated from Sunrise Mountain High School. I have to talk about a teacher that I remember that I had in 4th grade. who is now my third grader's teacher at Sons Elementary. She was an amazing teacher. Do you know why? Because not only was she kind, but she taught math, reading, writing, science, and history. And that's what I want to bring back to academics in Peoria. I started this journey almost about 2 years ago with my son Emmett. He's 9 now, he was 8. And the Peoria district opened up their schools again, and he has autism, so he could not wear a mask. It physically caused him harm to wear it. And I filed out a doctor's note, sent it to the school nurse. I was told he would not have to wear a mask first day of school. First day of school he attended, they forced a mask on him without my consent and didn't notify me until later in the day. Picking him up, he was upset, he didn't know what was wrong, he thought he did something wrong. He kept telling the teacher and the assistant principal that his mom said it was okay, he didn't have to wear a mask. So from that journey, I met Devin up to that day. He was running with me. And we attended our first school board meeting after 2 months of keeping my son home because I would not force him to wear a mask when he had an exemption. I would not do it. And at that first board meeting, it was insane. It was scary. I didn't want to speak. I cried. I'm going to be honest, I cried. And I looked at these board members just sitting up there, and it was like, what is this? Why does this feel like this with being a parent? I should feel like you should be telling me why you're not letting my kid back into school with a mask exemption. So from there, me and Devin started going to school board meetings. We started meeting other moms and dads. And we started doing public records requests. I don't know if anybody knows about public records requests, but you should start doing them. Every district has a way to do a public record request to see what is going on in these schools. And that's what I started doing. I started uncovering emails with what they're wanting to teach in the schools, our curriculum department, trying to teach CRT, SEL, equity, all the other words they want to come up with, and it's all the same. And what I also discovered is they're lying to the board members, the community, and the parents about what is actually being taught. And it's so frustrating to see this with our community, with our state, with our country. There's a ton of parents and community members and teachers. We've got teachers that reach out to me. They were asked to write down on a card when did they realize they were white at a staff meeting. And so when I'm being told that we're just ranting about how awful teachers are, that's not what we're doing. We want those teachers to come and tell us what is going on. We want to stand for you. What I don't stand for is teachers becoming activists and trying to turn my child into an activist with social justice, all this other stuff that they want to use. No, that's not what I'm going to stand for. I'm going to stand for the teacher that I had in 4th grade at Frontier Elementary. That's the teacher I'm going to stand for. Now, parents, of course, in Arizona, we have parental rights. Everybody knows it. We've learned it the past 2 years. And I'm going to stand for that when I become that Peoria School Board member in 2022. I'm going to. I'm not going to go from it. And I think the Peoria district has forgotten that it's parents first. And when I become that Peoria School Board member, I'm going to remind them that that's what's going to happen. I also stand for academics because, again, Peoria district has completely lost it. All the districts have across Arizona. I'm also going to stand for special education because, like I said, I have 2 kids with special needs, and the special needs community, it's insane. Parents have kids with IEPs, their services are not getting met, these kids are struggling, and they're not getting the provisions that they need to succeed in school. And I'm also going to stand for truth in education. So my name is Heather Ropes. I'm running for Peoria School Board. My website is Heather Ford, F-O-R, Peoria.com. And if you could please help me and support me in any way you can, I would appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for having me. My name is Devin Updebrock Day, and yes, Heather and I are running together. We are kind of partners in this whole thing starting 2 years ago. I never thought this is something I would ever do. I never thought I would be this involved, especially with politics. But it wasn't a choice. It kind of blindsided, I think, many of us as parents with COVID. COVID opened the door for all kinds of exposing of what the kids are teaching and what they're actually not learning, which is the basics, right, to survive. We started this meeting with the question of, do we love America? And yes, we all love America, and we love our children. And that's what every candidate has been speaking on, is fighting for our children. That is who matters. We're fighting for their innocence. We're fighting for their right to a strong, solid education. We are fighting for their safety. Classes aren't safe anymore. That's something that hasn't been brought up. They're no longer disciplining kids. They're not getting suspended. They're not getting punished for using their phone or cheating. Violence on the playground. Teachers are getting assaulted. My son's 6th grade teacher was punched in the face by a student on the playground in front of all of the classmates. That child was back in the classroom in a few days with that same teacher's class. Nothing was done to that child. And what does that tell those kids? That they don't stand a chance. Because if the teacher doesn't have protection, they sure as heck don't. So it's about safety of the kids. And of course it's about their future. Because if they can't read and they can't write, they can't think for themselves, and they're all focused about feelings and not reality, they don't stand a chance. So we're having to fight for the future. Like all the parents, it's all about parental rights. That's what it is. Because it's up to us to fight for our kids. We hope that the schools will do it, we hope the schools have the best interest, but ultimately the parents are the ones that will always have the child's back and fight to the very end for them. So we have to keep those parental rights so we have access to the classroom. They don't want us in the classroom. They don't want us on campus. They don't want us involved. They say they love parents. No, they don't. Because we want accountability. So they have to fight to keep us in. We have to keep fighting for our voices to be heard. And that's what I stand for. School boards today are allowing our districts to manipulate the students.
Yes.
Right? They're doing that through those online supplemental resources. It's coming in every angle. They're allowing these online supplemental resources to gather data. We talked about surveys. They're using our children for guinea pigs to gather data. Data for what? Data for who? They don't know the answer to that question. Data is crucial. Why are kids so valuable? Why are they so intent on getting control of these kids? Because they are the future, they are the power. Ask any dictator. It's history repeats itself, which is why they probably don't want to teach history. They're intentionally distracting our kids and our children with personal reflection. How are you feeling? Your identity. They're weakening it. That is what SEL is. And they're putting a lot of money in SEL. Through public record requests, Heather made a mention of that. We found that SEL spending, I asked for 2019, 2020, 2021. District spending on SEL. 2019 was about, I believe, 300,000. In 2020, it was 400,000. 2021, I believe I got this record request back in August, so the year was not over, $1.2 million. 87% of that was on salaries. Social workers, counselors coming in. Okay, there's a lot of money being spent. Why? Right? Information is power. But they're weakening our kids, but let's be honest, life is not for the weak. It doesn't do them any benefit to sit in a corner and reflect about how their feelings were hurt and thinking all these things. It doesn't work that way in reality. Life is tough. You get over it, you deal with it, you work better, you work harder. That's the way it is. Whether you like it or not, that's reality. And we're not doing our kids any benefit to hold their hand and tell them to just think about it. So no more excuses. That's what my campaign's about. No more excuses. No more excuses for allowing this to happen. No more excuses for avoiding a conflict. It is time to step up. It's time to get involved. And it's time to expect more. Because our kids deserve it and they will do it. I don't think any child will not, when you ask them for more, when you push them harder, they will shine every time. And we're underestimating them. So my name is Devin Updirect-Day. In Peoria, we'll take any support you can in our district, spread the word. And my website is Vote Devin, so DEVON, votedevin.com. Thank you so much.
American flag. I'm a Mason mom, and Mason's my hometown. I'm also a precinct committeeman. And I was blessed with a beautiful daughter in 2016. I wanted kids my whole life, and my husband and I were very blessed to be able to have this sweet little girl, and she turned 5 this year. And I looked around at her peers and at the school district, and I thought, who are her friends going to be? What kind of world is she going to inherit when she grows up? And these children are future voters of America, and they are being influenced and indoctrinated by people who want to fundamentally transform what this country stands for. So I am running to restore academics and bring that fundamental academic education back to our kids. They need to master English language arts and math, and those are the 2 primary drivers of all future learning, and that's why those subjects are so important. We also need to focus on a 1776-based history. This Biden regime, their very first order of business when Biden took over was to dismantle Trump's 1776 commission. So that sends a message to everybody of what we're up against in government, and that's why our children need to understand that America is a country for freedom. They're being taught victimhood. They're being taught this narrative of identity politics and to divide everybody up into different categories. That's not what America is about. Despite whatever errors and problems we have in our government, the purpose of America has always been the cause of freedom and to uphold the dignity of the human family. And we're not even seeing that in schools. We're not seeing that at any level of government. And that's where school board is so important right now. Andy Biggs of the Freedom Caucus said that we're going to save this country at a state level. We're not going to look to DC for anything. We're going to do it right here in our hometowns. I also want to focus on transparency. Mesa is the biggest school district in the state. There's 78 schools, and they have a $700 million aggregate budget. Where is all the money going? They were threatening to shut down schools for funding. They have the funding, it's there. It was disgusting to me at the school board meeting that they brought up school shutdowns again. I would never vote for school shutdowns. You know who shut down schools? Mao Zedong in his Cultural Revolution shut down the schools for 2 years. Never again, we're not doing that. I will vote for parent rights, the right to education, and no mandates whatsoever. That is up to the parent. That goes with parent rights. So here's why I'm uniquely qualified to do this. I have a good academic background. I got my master's in history. I was hired by the university as a graduate student to be a teaching and a research assistant, and I've got a fellowship to go to England and do research there. At that time, they called it postmodern theory. So you hear about critical race theory. It's been around for a long time. It's just come under different names. So I'm very familiar with this sort of academic train of thought. They couldn't indoctrinate me back then. They're not going to indoctrinate me today, and I'm not going to let it happen to the kids either. I do recognize that I understand what it is and how to root it out of the curriculum. And then I also have real-world experience that's very relevant to this. So I worked at Vanguard, a mutual fund company that you probably all know, they're very big. And I did well there. I got promoted 3 times, which is really hard to do in corporate America. They don't like to promote from within. And for 10 years, my clients were corporations. So I saw companies that had billions of dollars in assets under management, and I oversaw their plans. So I dealt with a lot of lawyers, I dealt with regulation, I worked with CFOs to to make these plants operate. And I was at Vanguard during that big recession that, of course, everyone knows, the 2008, 2009 recession, and Congress put out a lot of new regulations. And I oversaw that in my clients and had to make sure that they were following regulations. The other thing that I did there that I happened to be really good at, it was hard work, but for me it was like a sport, was I became an efficiency expert. So the reason why I got so many big clients is because they're always the messiest ones. They cost the most money, they were burdensome from an administrative standpoint, and so they would give those clients to me because I was really good at finding efficiencies and ways that we could cut out administration that was costly. So those are the skills that I'm going to bring to the school board. I'm making this my full-time job. I left work to be a stay-at-home mom, and I'm not going back. I'm committed to doing this. And my website, if you want to learn more, is electrachelwalden.com. Thank you.
Pretty much what they said. So, the public education system in Mesa, like everywhere else, is broken. In Mesa, more than 60% of the kids are failing English, language, arts, and math. Our students deserve a good, solid education, because a good education will follow them for the rest of their lives. And so will a bad education, and that's what we have right now. My name is Ed Steele, and I'm running to fix the Mesa public school system. There are many areas that need fixing. We have to improve this tragic statistic that we're all facing. Area number 1, curriculum and materials, both classroom and supplemental. I'm going to implement a back to the basics. I want reading, writing, math, English language arts, science, history, government, civics, physical fitness, and the arts. All of these are going to be free from bias and harmful ideologies. So, you think, well, how do you have harmful ideologies in all of these? I just came across a program that Mesa approved last year. It's an arts program. And within this program, it says the teachers need to be well-versed in cultural proficiency. And that's the creep, the slow creep that goes into all of our schools. And we think, oh, that's no big deal. And then they creep a little more. And it's no big deal, and they creep a little more. We've got to stop it. That's what I'm doing there. For far too long, the fundamentals of our education system have taken a back seat to these woke ideologies, the CRT, the SEL, and they're passing pornography off as sex ed. It's got to go. The second thing, we need to foster an environment of parental participation, because the greatest allies of our students' education are the parents, and they've been shut out. We need to bring them back. I've discovered something in the Mesa district, that the schools that are performing at the highest level, and there are several schools performing at a high level, are the ones that have the highest parental participation. So greater parental participation must be encouraged. Number 3, teacher appreciation, retention, and recruitment. Even with our enrollment down in Mesa, 4,000 students, we're still short almost 200 certified teachers. And to make matters worse, a recent survey by the Maricopa County School Superintendent with 2,500 respondents found that 78% of the teachers are reporting severe or extreme stress on the job. And 64% are saying that the district is doing nothing about it. 78%. 3 years ago, that number was 8%. A teacher shortage crisis is in the making. I'm going to work to develop and implement creative strategies to address retention, recruitment, and yes, more teacher pay. I can't do this by myself. I need your help. I need my name to get out there, so if you belong to a group, a club, or an organization, invite me to come speak with them. Tell your friends about me. Go to my website, edsteelformesa.com. That's edsteelformesa.com. Sign up for email updates. Follow me on social media. My name is Ed Steele. I'm running to fix the Mesa public school system, and I'm asking for your support. Thank you.